This question is focusing on the Erikson stages of development. It says, which developmental stage described by Erik Erikson focuses on the conflict which typically occurs within the first year of life? So something to consider with the Erikson model is that each aspect is broken down by age group. So we're looking at an age group. And it's also going to discuss something versus something else. And when you look at our choices over here, over on the left, each option is something versus something else. And what this means is that we are comparing something that's a good trait, something that we want to see, we want to develop in this age group primarily, versus what would be the outcome or the consequence of not pursuing this attribute. So if we don't have this good trait, then we will end up with something bad. So a bad outcome. So those are the two aspects that are being versed with each other. And the idea is that if you could achieve the good, desirable one, then that will be your life motto for this age group. So it might be that you have trust. It might be that you have a good sense of self. That's what you're aiming for in that age group. And if you can't achieve that, then it will end up with something bad. It'll say, well, since you can't achieve that, you will feel shame during this age group. That was what Erikson believed. That's his model of development. So let's go through the choices and figure out which one is involved in the first year of life, also known as the infancy period. So this is what we're looking for, because again, Erikson's stages are based on age group. So certain choices we will see you might notice in a school age group, and an adult age group, but right now we're focusing on the infancy age group. So let's take a look at option A. The idea behind autonomy versus shame and doubt is that a person in this age group is self-sufficient, so they may appreciate picking choices for themselves because there's a lot of things that they still need help with, but if they're autonomous with the things they can choose, then they will feel independent and they will feel power. So an example of autonomy versus shame and doubt may involve the autonomy part. If they can select their own clothes, so they can make a choice for that. They choose which toys they want to play with. They start to develop which sorts of foods they prefer over others. And they might also develop a sense of toilet training. So they're able to have another step of independence, something before they needed help with, wearing diapers, and now they have more autonomy for themselves. So this sounds a lot like what you would see in the toddler age group, because this is the point in a person's life where they went from a sense where everything is done for them, someone's taking care of all of their basic needs, and now they're moving toward being independent and taking those steps on their own and feeling good about themselves by doing that. Now this question is asking about the first year of life. So this is still the infancy period and not yet the toddler period. So although next they will be looking at autonomy versus shame and doubt, for this question, we could look at a better choice instead. So we will eliminate option A. So now let's take a look at option B, initiative versus guilt. So when a person takes an initiative, it means that they want to take for themselves an idea of what they want to go with to feel a sense of purpose. So an example in this case might be a child who sets up a play ice cream store in their house. Maybe they use some cardboard, they use their toys, and they sell the ice cream to their family in the house. Now, they would feel very accomplished with this initiative if their family tells them, oh, wow, this is such a great idea. I love to try some of your pretend ice cream. And then they feel that they were successful in their initiative. However, if a parent comes over and says, no, stop doing that. You're creating such a mess in the house. They would feel guilty and they would feel unsuccessful with their attempt to be initiative. And this play idea and this sense of developing initiative through play purpose is commonly seen in the preschool age child. So preschool age, so that's the age group that's associated with initiative versus guilt, but the question is asking us about infancy, so we can eliminate option B and let's move on to option C. Option C is looking at trust versus mistrust. And trust is the basic conceptual idea that is heavily linked to the infancy era. In this age group, a person is still developing a sense of what the world around them is like, and the whole idea is who they trust and who they don't. Who's their family, who's their stranger, who's a threat and who's not, which is very primitive to the core of our being in terms of, if you look at animal life, very basic function is what can we trust, what can we not, to know how to best protect ourselves. And since the question is asking about the first year of life, which is the infancy period, it seems that this is the age group that is associated with trust versus mistrust, and therefore that would be the answer to what the question is asking. But let's also take a look at option D so we understand industry versus inferiority. So the industry for this person involves what they do around them and where they make things or they make progress. And in this person's case, it would be school versus maybe their extracurricular activities. So if they feel a real sense of accomplishment in the things that they do and starting to build that sense of who they are in the things that they make or the things that they do or produce. So industry might be making a art project and bringing that art project home, putting on the refrigerator, feeling really proud of their accomplishments. However, they would feel inferior or unaccomplished in their industry if maybe their artwork gets mocked and is not appreciated to be displayed. Then they would feel inferior and they're not meeting their age group's ideal characteristic, which in this case would be industry. So this is an important concept to understand, but again, this is related to the school age child in industry versus inferiority, and the question is asking about the infancy period, so we will still go with choice C, trust versus mistrust, and eliminate option D.